and believe that something might be really, really possible in 2018?
You know, I don't think it solves all the Democrats' problems. Democrats are still divided, but we did see progressive Democrats, liberal Democrats, turn out for a moderate candidate in Virginia. Liberal that was up 8 percentage points from 4 years ago, even though the candidate was more moderate than the candidate who ran 4 years ago. And that is something that's encouraging to Democrats, but that is not to say this is a party united.
Yeah, but that's also a question of whether they were mobilized against something or for something.
Yeah, that's right. And you need to be, history tells you, you need to be for something. You can't just be against something and win office.
Charlie, I would point to one other group that was mobilized, which was millennials. You know, there's always a question about whether they vote in big numbers, whether they vote in midterms or off-year elections at all. There's a group called Next Gen America, which picked 9 precincts in Virginia around college campuses to see what happened to turnout yesterday. And in all 9 of those precincts, turnout was up over 4 years ago, the last gubernatorial election in Virginia, and in most cases up a lot. And in a couple of precincts in Richmond around Virginia Commonwealth University, it was more than double 4 years ago. So there are some signs, and this is good for Democrats, obviously, that millennials got energized and did show up. Ralph Northam was not their kind of guy necessarily. Right. So this is a two-edged sword for Democrats. Millennials are progressives, and they're going to want a party that moves to the left more than others in the party are going to be comfortable with.
So let me ask you about 2 people. Donald Trump, what does he do now?
I think the president has to take a message away from this that he is not winning the future elections, that his style of governing is going to generate more turnout in the blue states and not as much turnout in the red states. It's been said that blue is getting darker blue and red is getting darker red, but there aren't enough reds left demographically to win his Congress. He could become a loser, and he's got to emulate what he does abroad. He's given his best speeches in Saudi Arabia, Poland, and today and yesterday in South Korea. And if the president imports into the United States a little bit of what he exports abroad, he'd be a lot better president and the party would be in a lot better position. No way not to read this election as all about the president.
No, say that again?
No way to read the results of yesterday other than in Virginia.
About the president.
Other than a referendum on the president. Yeah.
Is in your, go ahead.
So,
before you say that, let me just quote you from a column. You said, Trump has changed Washington more than Washington has changed him.
You know, and this is not what we expect to happen with new presidents, especially new presidents without a lot of experience. This president has not been reshaped by this town. But this town is a different place now than it was a year ago today when he won election. It is faster, it is louder, it is fiercer, the divisions are wider. He has had a huge effect, but not to the extent that he's been able to deliver on the campaign promises he made. And you look at what happened yesterday, Democrats are encouraged that after being really spooked by Donald Trump's victory a year ago, they are increasingly convinced they're going to be possibly able to win control of the House. And Donald Trump does not know what trouble is like until one of the House or the Senate is under opposition party control. That is a different landscape for him.
When you look at tax reform, Jerry, is it likely to pass? Is it going to be that close? Or what has to happen for it to pass? Whatever you want to call it, tax cuts, tax reform, whatever it is.
Well, look, I mean, all predictions have been perilous for the last 2 years, so I go there with great trepidation. But I think the imperative to do something on taxes is so high for Republicans. It was high before yesterday, is higher now, as Hugh was suggesting earlier. I think they'll find a way to get something done. What that something is, I don't know exactly. It may in the end look more like just a kind of a plain vanilla tax cut than real tax reform. It may not happen by the end of this year. It may spill over into early next year. But I do think that in the end they have to get something done on this, and I think they're on a path to accomplish something probably almost entirely lines. But at this stage of the game, that'll be fine for Republicans. And so if I had to put money on the line, and you're asking me to do that, I would say they'll get something done.
Hugh, will this result in a challenge to Donald Trump, or was there going to be a challenge to Donald Trump in the primaries regardless?
What a great question. Yes, I think John Kasich is going to run against him one way or the other. But I also want to add, this comes after 3 deadly hurricanes, fires that were deadly, after the Las Vegas massacre, after the New York Terrorism Act, after the Sutherland Springs massacre. I don't think we've ever had an election after 2 months of sequential disasters of this sort. and after the confrontation and the collisions that Susan described and the stakes that Jerry laid out there. And so I really think the prediction business is a very dangerous thing to be in. The Republicans have to pass this tax plan. But as a former member of Congress, John Campbell said to me, and the Confederacy had to win Gettysburg. So what? You know, sometimes you lose what you have to win.
Yes. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, Susan.
Well,
thank you, Jerry.
you.
We'll be right